Hey guys, so welcome back to the second part of the R710 build series. So today I've got a few extra parts, but basically we're going to take care of storage for this R710. Now I'll start with kind of the more mundane thing. We were missing 2 hard drive trays, which I've gotten some replacements for. And in addition to that, I want to remove the stickers that are no longer relevant because I don't think people really use 450 gig 15k RPM drives, and at least not practically. So I'm going to show you how to remove those stickers. Alright, let me try to do it first on one of these. This has a 146 gig SAS 15k sticker on it. I'm going to be using one of these plastic peeler tools, and this comes in really handy for something like this. And I don't know about you guys, I'm a little OCD, I guess. I don't like to just throw these stickers away. I have some wax paper and I just kind of keep them here just in case. I don't know. I'll probably end up throwing the whole thing away, but the OCD in me, you know, makes me do things like this sometimes. All right, so let's go ahead and start removing some of these stickers. So basically you just need to kind of get the flat sharp edge into one of the corners, and you can see how the stickers are already moving. All right, and just kind of keep sliding it, and then once you kind of have at least one side of this, I just kind of hold on to it and peel the rest off. Alright, so just like that, and then I'll put this down on this wax paper, and so then that's good to go. So let's go ahead and replace one of these right now. Alright, so 5 more to go. Alright, so once you kind of get it in there, just peel it right off. Okay, so let's take care of these other 4. Just get in there. Usually it's easiest to start in the corner. And alright, that should be enough. You can peel the rest off. And if you have a little bit of adhesive residue, usually a little Goo Gone or something like that will just take that right off. So I might do that a little bit later. I don't have the Goo Gone with me right now, but let's go ahead and finish this up. Alright, so yeah, there's a little bit of adhesive left over. I'll get the Goo Gone later on and clean that up, but for the most part we've now gotten rid of all the stickers that are no longer meaningful. Alright, so the next part, we'll get inside the chassis, and what we have today is new cables that will work with the HBA card that we're putting in. So here is the H200 that we're going to be replacing the PERC 6 card with. and this is from my inventory, so I have the bracket which you're gonna have to remove. But this card is a perfect fit for this server, but it needs these cables, and so we'll talk more about that once I kind of get set up to work on the inside. Alright guys, so here we are inside the R710. We're going to remove this PERC 6 card. We're going to get rid of the battery and the cable. We're going to get rid of these SAS cables, and we're going to replace them with these cables that have the SFF8087 connectors that will go with this HBA card. So this is an H200 that has been flashed to the integrated subsystem IDs and with the LSI IT mode firmware. Alright, so let's start by removing the cables. Alright, so we got to open this up, and got to pull the fan array out. Alright, and let's start with the loosening the battery cable. The two SAS cables, you just basically pinch these buttons on the side of the connector and they can come out. So these connectors have these two buttons on the side. You just press on those, and that will release the latch mechanism. And these go into this cabling passageway inside the chassis. This is actually kind of neat, I think. I don't see this a lot in other servers, but they've actually built a little channel here for the cabling. So it's covered up by this plastic bracket, and so all you have to do is pull out this blue lever and then slide it backwards and it comes right out. Okay, so let's go ahead and take these cables out. This is, see, it's routed behind here, so this looks like SAS B. Alright, so to remove these SAS cables, you just have to press down on the spring latch and then pull it up. So this is a little bit tight. Oh, there we go. Alright. So let's get rid of the SAS cable. Okay, so this is a SFF8087 cable to a SFF8484 connector. So we don't need this anymore. I'll throw this aside. And let's take out the second one. Alright, so that goes to SAS A. Alright. And finally, we can get rid of the battery cable. So let's see here. So this is a very long wire here, and we pry this plastic bracket back, the battery comes right out, and so we don't need this battery anymore. Alright, so that's all the cabling that's coming out this time around. And then let's take the PERC 6 card out. So to remove this card, you basically have to pry these plastic brackets back a little bit and then just slide it right out. Alright, so this is the PERC 6. It's a SAS 1 RAID controller. This is actually a pretty high performing controller back in its day. I used to optimize RAID arrays around this controller and could get about 600 megabytes a second with an array of hard drives. So this is actually a pretty nice RAID controller for its time, but you know, by today's standards, it's a little outdated. Alright, so now we've gotten rid of that. Alright, so we're going to need to put in, let's start with the cables. Alright, So the cabling for a integrated card in this slot is a little unique because for one, it needs these right angle SFF 8087 connectors here, and so these are a little bit harder to find, and then on the other end it needs this other type of kind of right angle connector so that it can sit in the card like this instead of some other way. And on top of that, one of the things that kind of trips people out a little bit is that if they get a I call it a third party or aftermarket cable, sometimes the sideband signals are not wired correctly, and so the data channels will work fine and your hard drives will connect fine. And there's a little bit of dust right here. Let me get that out. Okay, the data channels work fine, but there's a check that the Dell servers do, and without the sideband signals properly wired, it's going to complain that the backplane or one of the SAS cables is loose or disconnected. So you'll end up getting errors. So I actually recommend that you get the original Dell factory cable, and this is what this set is. I also have these listed in my store for sale, so if you want to check those out, I'll leave a link down in the description to this cable set. But if you want to get it elsewhere, let me just kind of tell you what the part numbers are. Okay, so one of these, let's see if I can show the camera this. One of these cables is part number P110M, and then the other one, which is a different length, is N170M. And so this is the factory cable that you need to connect the 6-bay 3.5-inch backplane to the integrated slot. All right, so let's go ahead and start with one of these. This is, let's see which one is the longer one. Okay, so this is the shorter one, so I'm going to say that it goes here, and we will route this in a similar way that the other cables were routed. Alright, you can see how these are just the perfect length. They come exactly right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the next cable. And again, I'll route this in the same manner that the other cable is routed. Let's see here, I think it went underneath here, didn't it? Alright, so you'll see that these cables are just the right length, and go ahead and put those cables down. Well, let's see, maybe it would be better if we routed it around that way. Alright, so let's go ahead and secure those cables in that channel. And this just has these prongs that go into the holes here. And then you just slide it that way and it locks in, and so it keeps the cable neatly tucked away. So that's actually really nice. Okay, so once those cables are in, the last part is the HBA card. So let me go ahead and take this out of its bag. So this is the H200 that's been flashed to IT mode, and it has the subsystem ID matched so that it'll work in the integrated slot. Now, I've had people ask me, hey, should I use this card or should I use the H310, which can also be flashed to work in this slot. Now, I recommend that you keep to the H200, and this is why. When you see how this card goes in, I have to take off the bracket, of course, and I'll show you that in a little bit. The connectors are like right here, sideways, and so these cables are going to attach exactly like this, and that's perfectly fine and completely out of the way. If you use an H310, on the other hand, the connectors are going to be over here, and you're not going to be able to plug in the cables without having to remove this bracket. So that's one inconvenience, is that you'll actually end up having to remove this riser, removing this bracket, which is possible, and you have to reinstall the riser without this bracket here. And that's not the end of the world, it's just a little bit awkward. But the other problem you're going to have is routing the cables. So if you run these exact same cables, you're going to be running them possibly like this. And you'll notice how this then kind of creates a barrier here for the airflow that's coming through this way, right? So with these plugged in like this, from the side like this actually doesn't obstruct any of the airflow, and so allows the kind of the way the system was designed to work in its proper fashion. So for those reasons, I recommend that you stick to the H200. You could use an H310 if maybe that was the only choice and you didn't want to spend any more money and that's what you have. You could do that. You'd have to remove the riser, and you'd have to I guess be cautious about how you're routing the cables and try not to block the airflow. Alright, so in order to install this, we have to remove the bracket, so let me go ahead and do that. Alright, I don't want to lose the screw here, so give me a second to put this kind of back on the bracket. Okay, so we have the card ready without the bracket now, and we can install it. Now, this was originally an integrated H200, and you can tell the difference by the part number, which is 3J8FW. So if you have an H200 with that part number, it was originally a integrated H200, which means it was designed for the slot to begin with. Now, all of my H200s are flashed to work in the slot regardless, so it doesn't really matter if you're buying an H200 from me, they will always work in the integrated slot. Now, another way to tell that you have a card that is that was originally integrated card is this plastic bracket, because this was not originally designed to be mounted in a PCI slot. It didn't come with a PCI bracket, but it has this plastic bracket that you can release with the button on the bottom here, and that helps secure it onto the PCI slot. Alright, so to install this card, I'll slide it into the black bracket first, and then lay it down here on the purple bracket, and then we'll just kind of press it in, and then you'll see that this plastic bracket then latches on to the PCI slot. Okay, so now let's make sure that we have the cables in the right slots. So this is, so remember, it's very important to match the SAS port with the port on the backplane. Otherwise, Dell will complain that you have the wrong cable. So I'm looking at the SAS A port, which is this one here, and this cable seems to be connected to this one. So this needs to go into the SAS A port over here. Okay, and then the other one is would be the SAS B one, so that'll go over here. All right, so that's it, guys. I got the cables in, I got the H200 in, and we got the cables plugged in correctly. So now this system, and we got the hard drive brackets, so this system is now ready for FreeNAS or UNRAID or anything else that uses a software RAID technology that needs an IT mode controller on that backplane. All right, so that's it for today's video. In the next couple of videos, we're going to look at upgrading the processors, and then also I have a surprise for you guys, especially for those of you guys who are setting up this R710 for Plex. Stay tuned for that video, and give me a like if you like this video, and remember to subscribe if you'd like to continue watching this series. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.